The discovery the storm's gift, the thunder crashed like artillery shells across Pine Valley as Marcus Chon guided his pickup truck down the winding mountain road. At 68, he had driven these roads for decades, but tonight felt different. The storm that had raged for 3 days straight was finally breaking, leaving behind a world washed clean and strangely quiet. Marcus pulled into the gravel driveway of his small cabin, the headlights catching something unusual in the old quarry. Below, through the rain-streaked windshield, he could make out what looked like a metallic glint where no metal should be. The abandoned limestone quarry had been empty for 30 years, nothing but weeds and rainwater filling the deep excavation. Sleep came fitfully that night. Marcus found himself returning to the window again and again, peering down at the quarry. The storm clouds had cleared, revealing a brilliant field of stars, but whatever he had seen in the quarry remained hidden in shadow. Dawn broke crisp and clear. Marcus made his coffee and stood on his porch, binoculars in hand. What he saw made him nearly drop his mug. Nestled against the far wall of the quarry, partially buried in decades of sediment and debris, was what could only be described as a ship. Not a boat, not an aircraft, he recognized, but something sleek and purposeful that seemed to absorb the morning light rather than reflect it. First contact with wonder. Marcus had spent 45 years designing and repairing aircraft for both civilian and military contractors. He had worked on experimental prototypes that never saw public light, had his hands inside engines that pushed the boundaries of known physics. But this vessel was unlike anything in his extensive experience. He loaded his truck with basic tools and made his way down the old mining road to the quarry floor. Up close, the ship was even more remarkable. It measured roughly 60 feet in length, with smooth curves that suggested both aerodynamic efficiency and something else entirely. The hull material appeared to be some kind of advanced alloy that shifted color subtly as he moved around it. "Well, hello there, beautiful," Marcus whispered, running his weathered hands along the hull. The material was warm to the touch despite the cool morning air. "What brings you to our little corner of nowhere?" The ship was damaged, but not destroyed. Scorch marks along one side suggested a hard landing, and several panels were buckled, or missing entirely. But the overall structure remained intact, and Marcus felt that familiar excitement that came with discovering a machine that could be brought back to life. The town's verdict by noon, Marcus was back with cleaning supplies and basic repair tools. By evening, word had spread through Pine Valley like wildfire. The first curious visitors arrived just as Marcus was finishing his initial assessment of the vessel's exterior. "Well, I'll be damned," said Sheriff Bill Harrison, climbing carefully down into the quarry with 2 deputies. "Marcus, what in the hell have you found?" Marcus straightened, his back protesting after hours of crawling around the ship. "Something extraordinary, Bill. This isn't from any manufacturer I know, and I've worked with them all." Deputy Mike Torres laughed. "Come on, Marcus. It's probably some rich kid's experimental aircraft that crashed during the storm. Maybe one of those fancy drones they're making nowadays." "Drones don't typically measure 60 feet long, Mike," Marcus replied patiently. "And this alloy, these construction techniques, they're beyond anything currently in production." "Sheriff." Harrison walked around the vessel, shaking his head. "Looks like a movie prop to me. Probably fell off a transport truck heading to some film studio. You know how these Hollywood types like to make things look all futuristic and space age." By the end of the week, half of Pine Valley had hiked down to see Marcus's flying saucer. The reactions ranged from amused to concerned. At Mel's Diner, the consensus was clear. Old Marcus Chon had finally lost his mind. "Always knew those military contracts scrambled his brains," said Dolores Finn, the town's self-appointed gossip coordinator. "All those classified projects, All that weird experimental stuff. Now he thinks he's found a spaceship. It's sad, really, added Frank Morrison, who ran the hardware store. Marcus used to be sharp as a tack. Fixed my truck more times than I can count. Now he's out there scrubbing space junk with a toothbrush. The obsession grows. Marcus heard the whispers and saw the pointing fingers, but he didn't care. Every morning for 3 weeks, he drove down to the quarry with cleaning supplies, diagnostic equipment, and a growing sense of purpose. The ship was revealing its secrets slowly, like a puzzle that required patience and expertise to solve. The hall cleaning revealed symbols etched into the metal near what appeared to be access panels. The symbols weren't quite like any alphabet, Marcus knew, but they had a geometric precision that suggested advanced engineering. Some panels could be removed with careful pressure, revealing interior spaces filled with components that made Marcus's engineer heart sing. The power systems were unlike anything he had ever seen. Instead of conventional wiring, the ship used what appeared to be crystalline matrices that channeled energy through precisely cut pathways. The materials were lighter than aluminum, but stronger than steel, with properties that seemed to defy conventional physics. This is impossible, Marcus muttered to himself one afternoon as he examined what appeared to be a gravity control mechanism. The energy requirements alone should be astronomical, but these crystals seemed to generate power rather than consume it. He began keeping detailed notes, sketching components, and trying to understand the ship's systems. His small cabin became filled with diagrams and theories as he worked to comprehend the vessel's technology. Signs of life. On the 21st day of his restoration efforts, something changed. Marcus was cleaning corrosion from what appeared to be a sensor array when the ship hummed. It was subtle, barely audible, but unmistakable. A faint vibration ran through the hull, and several of the crystal matrices began to emit a soft blue glow. "Now that's more like it," Marcus said, his voice filled with satisfaction. "Coming back to life, aren't you?" The teenagers who had taken to riding their bikes down to watch the crazy old man scattered when they saw the lights. By evening, the story had grown considerably in the telling. Some claimed the ship had lifted off the ground. Others swore they had seen aliens walking around inside. Marcus ignored the renewed speculation and focused on his work. Each day brought new discoveries. The ship's computer systems were beginning to respond to his diagnostic tools. Internal lights flickered on in sequence as power flowed through previously dead circuits. And most remarkably, the ship seemed to be teaching him how to repair it. Whenever Marcus encountered a component he couldn't understand, extended study would reveal logical connections and intuitive solutions. It was as if the ship's designers had anticipated that someone with his skills might one day attempt a restoration. The breakthrough on a foggy Thursday morning in early November. Marcus made the discovery that changed everything while cleaning debris from what he had identified as the ship's main control center. He uncovered a panel covered in symbols that were somehow familiar. Not the geometric patterns he had found elsewhere, but something that tugged at his memory. As he studied the symbols more closely, Marcus realized with growing excitement that they were numbers. Not human numbers, but mathematical concepts expressed in a logical progression that any engineer could follow. And beneath the numbers was something that made his hands tremble. A diagram showing the solar system with Earth clearly marked, and a trajectory line leading from a distant star. "You're not from around here at all, are you?" Marcus whispered. "But you know where you are. You know exactly where you are." That afternoon, Marcus connected a portable power source to what he believed was the ship's main computer terminal. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then, slowly, a holographic display began to form in the air above the console. Asterisk. The display showed star charts, technical diagrams, and streams of data in multiple languages. Some of the text was in the geometric script Marcus had been studying, but as he watched in amazement, portions of the display began shifting into English. System diagnostic initiated appeared in clear, precise letters. Damage assessment, moderate. Power reserves, critical. Navigation, offline. Communication, offline. Life support, offline. Marcus stared at the floating text, his mind racing. The ship was not just advanced, it was intelligent. And it was trying to communicate with him. Hull integrity, compromised but stable. Repair progress, 63% complete. External maintenance detected, consistent with skilled technical intervention. You've been watching me work, Marcus said aloud, feeling somewhat foolish for talking to a machine. The display paused, and new text appeared. Affirmative. Maintenance techniques indicate advanced engineering knowledge. Repair methodology is consistent with optimal restoration procedures. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. The ship wasn't just communicating with him, it was evaluating him. And apparently, he had passed some kind of test. As the sun set behind the quarry walls, Marcus packed up his tools with shaking hands. Tomorrow would bring new discoveries, new challenges, and possibly answers to questions he was only beginning to formulate. The mocking voices of Pine Valley seemed very far away as he climbed back up to his truck. Behind him, the ship's soft blue glow continued to pulse in the gathering darkness. Like a sleeping giant slowly awakening from a very long dream. Asterisk, the awakening, the call of recognition. Marcus arrived at the quarry before dawn, unable to sleep after the previous day's revelations. The ship's glow had intensified overnight, and now pulsed with a steady rhythm that reminded him of a heartbeat. As he descended into the quarry, carrying fresh batteries and diagnostic equipment, the ship's systems seemed to sense his approach. The holographic display activated automatically. As Marcus entered the control area, new text was waiting for him. Good morning, Marcus Chun. Sleep patterns indicate excitement and anticipation. This is normal when interfacing with advanced technology for the first time. Marcus nearly dropped his coffee thermos. You know my name? Identity confirmed through vocal pattern analysis, biological indicators, and professional methodology observations. You are Marcus Alexander Chun, born March 15, 1955, formerly employed by Northrop Aerospace Advanced Systems Division. Retirement date, December 31, 2020. How could you possibly know all that? Marcus demanded, his engineer's skepticism. Warring with wonder. The display shifted, showing what appeared to be a timeline with Earth prominently featured. Database contains extensive records of Earth's technological development and notable contributors to aerospace advancement. Your work on the X-47 prototype and theoretical propulsion systems earned significant recognition in our historical archives. Marcus sank into the ship's pilot chair, which had somehow adjusted itself to accommodate his frame perfectly. Historical archives? Just who are you people? New text appeared, and Marcus felt his worldview shift fundamentally. We are the survivors of the New Eden colony, established 2157 CE on Kepler 442b. We are your descendants, Marcus Chun. We are humanity's children, returning home after 300 years of isolation. The lost colonies tail the ship's AI, which introduced itself as Aria, Autonomous Reconnaissance and Intelligence Agent, began to tell a story that Marcus could barely comprehend. Images flowed across the holographic display, showing massive generation. Ships leaving Earth in the late 22nd century. Humanity spreading to the stars as environmental collapse threatened the home world. The New Eden colony was established by 12,000 volunteers. Aria explained, showing images of a verdant world beneath alien suns. For 2 centuries, we thrived. We developed new technologies, created a sustainable civilization, and maintained intermittent contact with Earth through quantum communication relays. Marcus watched in fascination as the display showed gleaming cities, vast farms, and technologies that seemed like magic. What happened? Why are you returning? The images shifted, showing darkness spreading across the colony world. In 2445, our sun began to destabilize. Solar flares increased exponentially, rendering the planet uninhabitable. We had perhaps 50 years to evacuate 12 million people back to Earth, but our quantum communicators had been silent for decades. We didn't know if Earth still existed, or if humanity had survived its environmental crisis. So you sent scout ships, Marcus guessed. 17 vessels were dispatched along different routes to locate Earth and assess its habitability. I am. The reconnaissance vessel homeward bound, carrying complete databases of our technological advances and cultural achievements. My mission was to find Earth, evaluate its current state, and if possible, establish contact with any surviving human civilization. Marcus studied the star charts appearing on the display. But something went wrong. The journey required multiple dimensional jumps through unstable space-time corridors. During the final approach to Earth's solar system, we encountered a gravimetric anomaly that damaged our primary navigation systems. The emergency landing was necessary to prevent total system failure. The test and the Truth ARIA's presentation paused, and new text appeared. Marcus Chun, your discovery and restoration of this vessel was not accidental. Our sensors detected your approach during the storm. Our emergency beacon was calibrated to frequencies used by Earth's military contractors. We called to you. Marcus felt a chill. You crashed on purpose? Near my home? Negative. The crash was genuine emergency. However, our distress signal was directed specifically toward individuals with advanced technical knowledge in your geographic area. You were the optimal candidate for contact. Why me specifically? The display showed Marcus's personnel file, complete with photographs from his military contracting days. Your psychological profile indicates strong curiosity, exceptional problem-solving, abilities, and history of successful interaction with classified technologies. Additionally, your isolation from mainstream scientific communities reduces the probability of premature exposure. Marcus laughed, though it came out slightly bitter. You mean because I'm a hermit living in the mountains? Nobody important would. Believe me if I told them about you. That is a crude but essentially accurate assessment. However, our evaluation goes deeper. Marcus Chun, you are exactly the kind of human our ancestors were when they first reached for the stars. Curious, determined, unafraid of the unknown. We need that spirit now more than ever. The greater purpose over the following hours, Aria revealed the true scope of New Eden's situation. The evacuee ships were already en route to Earth, carrying millions of refugees who had fled their dying world. But they were traveling on slower-than-light drives, their journeys measured in decades rather than years. The first evacuation ships will arrive in approximately 8 years, Aria explained. They carry family groups, essential equipment, and the desperate hope that Earth can accommodate their return. But they have no knowledge of current conditions here. Marcus studied the projections showing massive ships approaching Earth. How many people are we talking about? 12.3 million souls, arriving in waves over a 15-year period. They carry technologies that could revolutionize Earth's civilization, but they also represent the largest refugee crisis in human history. The weight of this revelation settled on Marcus like a physical force. And Earth's governments have no idea they're coming? Correct. Our quantum communications network failed before we could send warning. The evacuation fleets launched in desperation, hoping against hope that Earth still existed and could receive them. Marcus stood and paced around the small control area, his mind racing. What do you need from me? Initially, we require repairs to our communication systems so we can contact both Earth's authorities and the incoming ships. However, our long-term needs are more complex. We require an advocate, someone who understands both our technology and Earth's political realities. Someone who can help prepare your world for reunion with its lost children. The choice ARIA's display shifted to show real-time images of Earth from the ship's repaired sensors. Marcus could see the planet as it appeared from orbit, beautiful, and blue and utterly unaware of what was approaching from the stars. Marcus Chun, you have spent 3 weeks proving your competence and dedication by restoring this vessel. You have earned our trust and respect. Now we must ask for something more difficult, your partnership in the most important mission in human history. Marcus looked around the ship's interior, marveling at technologies that could solve Earth's energy crisis, environmental problems, and resource scarcity. But he also understood the massive disruption that 12 million refugees would represent. What exactly are you asking me to do? Help us contact Earth's leaders. Serve as a bridge between our peoples. Use your knowledge of Earth's political and scientific communities to ensure that first contact proceeds smoothly. And most importantly, help us prove that we are not invaders or conquerors, but simply humans coming home. Marcus thought about Pine Valley, about the people who had mocked him for cleaning what they thought was space junk. He thought about Earth's governments, which had trouble cooperating on simple issues, let alone something as unprecedented as this. There's going to be panic, he said finally. Fear. Some people will see your ships as an invasion fleet. Yes, Arya agreed. That is why we need someone like you, Marcus Chun. Someone who understands that humans, regardless of which world they call home, are still fundamentally the same species. We share the same dreams, the same hopes, the same determination to survive and thrive. The awakening Marcus made his decision with the sudden clarity that had guided him through 45 years of solving impossible engineering problems. All right, Arya, I'm in. What's our first step? The ship's systems suddenly surged to full power, lights brightening throughout the vessel as dormant systems came online. First, we complete repairs to our quantum communication array. Then we send messages to both Earth's major space agencies and our incoming fleet. We have 8 years to prepare for the greatest challenge and opportunity in human history. As Marcus watched, the ship began to transform around him. Panels slid aside to reveal sophisticated manufacturing equipment. The walls themselves seemed to reconfigure, creating new workspaces and storage areas. Within minutes, the vessel had become a fully operational base of operations. Welcome to the homeward-bound Marcus Chun, Arya said as holographic displays showed technical specifications, streaming across every surface. Welcome to the future of humanity. Outside the quarry, the people of Pine Valley went about their daily routines, unaware that their ridiculed old neighbor had just become the most important human being on Earth. They had mocked the old mechanic for cleaning what they thought was wreckage. They had no idea he had just awakened humanity's path to the stars. Marcus rolled up his sleeves and got to work. There was a species to reunite, a world to prepare, and only 8 years to do it. But for the first time in his retirement, he felt truly alive. The future was calling, and Marcus Chun was ready to answer. Asterisk.